YouTube. In this video I'm going to be doing an unboxing on a structure deck that came out recently earlier this year for another Spellcaster deck that I have been running for a long time, but it's always been overshadowed by Dark Magician. So Dark Magician, I already got him a couple of upgrades. If you saw the unboxing of the dual power, I got Bond between teacher and student. Shouldn't be too hard for me to get another one of these if I want to run 2 or maybe even 3. And I do have the new latest artwork of Dark Magician, so I'm running him. So, but the other Spellcaster that I'm talking about, people are probably thinking it's the Spellbook deck. No, Spellbooks came out back in 2012. They were really good, but I'm talking about an even older card. If you keep up with the structure deck releases, then you know exactly which Spellcaster I'm talking about. So in the anime, Endymion, and that's who we're going to talk about today, never really got a whole lot of coverage because I don't, as far as I know, unless I'm mistaken, and in Vrains, someone actually uses this, or in Arc V, the Pendulum era, someone used this, I don't know. But he never got a lot of coverage as far as I know. So that's why he's always been one of those like rogue archetypes that gets support for some reason. Maybe he's a manga spellcaster or something that Yugioh or someone uses. But anyway, today we're going to be focusing on upgrading Endymion because Dark Magician got some new support. So this deck is changing right now. I'm upgrading it a bit. Spellbooks I'll have to revisit, or haven't been really changed at all since like 5 or 6 years ago, as far as I know. I think like Judgment of Spellbook is still banned, and the deck isn't really changed that much, but I'll probably do an update on it at some point in the future as well. But today we're focusing all on Endymion. So my Endymion deck is probably my weakest Spellcaster deck right now, and I'm hoping to upgrade it with the new support from Order of Spellcasters. So we're going to do an unboxing on Order of Spellcasters, and it looks like you do get what looks like Pendulum monsters, and I don't know anything about Pendulum. Like, I kind of know, like, they go in the spell card zone on the left and right of the field, but other than that, I don't know anything about them. So hopefully I'll learn by upgrading my Endymion deck. So here we go. Endymion, the Master Magician, the Mighty Master of Magic. So this is the main new form of him. It's a new artwork too. I don't really like the way Pendulum cards look. Yeah. It's like they try to do widescreen, but it just doesn't look right. So anyway, so this is the new Endymion Pendulum. So he's got better stats. He's like 100 attack stronger than he used to be. Same stars, same defense, same. He's a spellcaster, but now he's Pendulum effect. So pretty good. I'm probably going to try him at 2 or 3 at first, and then maybe drop him down depending on how the deck flows. And then we got Reflection of Endymion. I think he's another like 2 of or 1 of. So the nice thing about that is you don't really, if you don't want to, you don't have to buy 3 of this, I guess, if you just follow a deck list from like a tournament or something. But then you're going to have to go and find a bunch of other Pendulum monsters from different booster sets. Next we've got Spell Power Mastery. So this is the new, he's known for using Spell Power Grasp as the most iconic spell card for Endymion decks, or also known as Citadel decks or Magical Citadel decks. And this is his new card, basically, that you want to run like 2 or 3 of. So Spell Power Mastery, and then Dwimmered Path. Target 1 spellcaster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only activate once per turn. So it's kind of like the Warrior Returning Alive for spellcasters, but spellcaster effect monsters. Alright, so that doesn't, they do that so you can't really use it with Dark Magician, unfortunately, because Dark Magician has a whole lot of support right now. Next we have an ultra rare Daybreaker, the Shining Magical Warrior. So this is basically like Breaker the Magical Warrior. Now he's a Link 2, so that's a nice card to have. Alright, so those are the 5 foil cards. Put them over here. Alright, and now the commons. So we have Magister of Endymion. I think this is a 3 of. You need to run 3 of this. And then Servant of Endymion. I think there's another 3 of. So those are the two main, like, easier to summon Pendulum monsters. They're the low-level ones. Then you get an original Master of Endymion, the Master Magician. So it's, I mean, it's interesting. They didn't redo the artwork on him, but I guess he's not really that popular. So there wasn't really a reason to, I guess. But it would have been nice if we got like a different art form of him. Although we did get a new one in the Pendulum monster, so there is that. And I guess competitive decks probably don't even run the original one. I'll try to do a pure build featuring him and the new one, but otherwise, if it doesn't really flow at all, then I just probably won't run him at all. I'll just use the new one. Then we get a common Crusader of Endymion. So I've got the foil cards of this in my Endymion deck right now. And then you have a Defender of the Magical Knight. Cool thing about this Spellcaster deck is this is the one that relies on spell counters for it to play properly, or that's just its play style. You get a Mythical Beast Cerberus. So a lot of this stuff, when he first came out, Spellcaster's Judgment, that structure deck which featured him, it also added like cards like this, and the field card, and lots of basically spell counter type cards, like this guy. Next we have another Pendulum monster, Mythical Beast Medusa. I wonder if that's a reprint of something, of Medusa. I don't know. Magical Something. Speaking of something, that's an interesting name. So each time a spell card is activated, place one spell counter on this card. When that spell resolves, this card's level is increased by the number of spell counters on it. You can remove 3 spell counters from this card. Target 1 quick play in your graveyard. Set that card in your spell check card zone. You can only use it. So, pretty interesting card. Probably try him at 1. See how it goes. He fetches stuff from the graveyard and sets them on the field. So that's cool for spell counters. But he is spell counter heavy, so it may not be necessary, but we'll see. Depends on how many spell counters you're able to spam on the field. Magical Exemplar, so this is a pretty good reprint for spell counter based builds. But it is kind of slow, kind of like Skill Dark Magician. Magical Abductor. Disenchanter. This is an old school card too. Apprentice Magician. I think he was originally in Magician's Force with the original print of Dark Magician Girl. And then I think he was a rare, if I remember correctly. And then a Dark Magician of Chaos Common. So that's always a nice reprint to have. Then you get a Fairy Tale Luna Spellcaster. It's interesting, it says fairy, but it's a Spellcaster. When it's normal summon, you can add a Spellcaster monster with 1850 attack from your deck to your hand. Interesting how it says with 1850 attack. It has to be 1850. It can't be 1850 or more, or 1850 or less. That's kind of weird. So basically it's like it searches itself. And then once per turn you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Your opponent can send one card with that monster's name from their deck or extra deck to the graveyard to negate this effect. Otherwise return both this card and that monster to the hand. So it's kind of like an interesting, it's got a bounce mechanic. It's kind of interesting to see how viable that will be. I'll definitely try playtesting it and see how it goes. Then we get a Summer Monk. That's a good reprint. And another good reprint, Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. Then Magical Undertaker. Flip. You can target one level 4 or lower Spellcaster monster in your graveyard, special summon that target. So I haven't seen a flip effect monster in such a long time. Unfortunately for him, I mean, he's Darky Spellcaster, that's good. But he is unfortunately too slow for this current meta. I don't know. I mean, flip monsters are kind of slow. You can't use their effects on the turn. You set the cards. It's kind of like it uses up your normal set. And then, yeah. Well, and here's another one, Magician of Faith, another flip monster. It's a nice reprint for a classic card. Now, this one might actually see play in budget builds. That guy could potentially also see play. I mean, the whole deck is pretty decent so far, from what I've seen. For casual play, or just somebody getting into Yu-Gi-Oh, or coming back to Yu-Gi-Oh. Then we got a Droll and Lockbird. I remember seeing this. I think it's another reprint. This is not new. Interesting card, interesting artwork there too. All right, and then that's the monsters. And now for the spell cards, we have the new continuous spell Endymion's Lab. So this card's name becomes Magical Citadel of Endymion, that's the field card. While in the spell or trap card zone, each time a spell card is activated, place one counter on this card, and when that spell resolves, once per turn after damage calculation, if your spellcaster must be destroyed, you can remove 6 special zone level 7 or higher from your hand or deck. So it's a nice way to get Endymion, similar to the field card. Speaking of the field card, here is the Magical Citadel of Endymion. And here is Endymion's classic spell Power Grasp that puts counters on everything and searches another copy of it to your hand. Oh, they give you 2. That's good. Here's another old card, Arcane Barrier. Each time face up. So basically, oh wow, this is a nice reprint, Spellbook of Secrets. But basically, the deck is, you can obviously tell that it's spellcaster focused, and it's focused on spell counters still, which is totally fine by me. It definitely changes it up compared to your typical Dark Magician deck or spellbooks or those sort of things. But it's nice that they put some spellbooks in here as well. That's interesting. So if you buy 3 of these, you'll have a full playset of these spellbook cards. You can actually tech them in. I think they're pretty good in here. Spellbook of Wisdom. It's another nice quick play for spellcasters. Magical Blast. Another one to burn damage based off of every spellcaster monster you control. And then also during the draw phase, cards in your graveyard. Before you draw, you can give up your normal draw and get this to your hand. So it can recycle itself. Probably won't. I don't recommend playing this unless you don't have any other cards to use. It's not a whole lot of... It does 2 damage for each spellcaster, but you know, I think there's still better cards that you can run. It's one of those weird cards where it's like, every now and then, out of maybe like 50 games, you might play this to burn, kill the opponent randomly or something like that. But, I don't know, there's better stuff out there is what I'm trying to say. And then we have Magical Dimension, easy way to get out old school Endymion. Not sure too much about how the pendulums interact with this guy or this card. You get a Terraforming, search your field card. Left Arm Offering, if you have 2 or more cards in your hand, banish your entire hand, and when spell from your deck to your hand, you can set. So this is nice. Well, not exactly. You give up 2 or more cards in your hand, and you plus this one's going away, so that's -3. Oh no, never mind. It's yeah, because you got to banish your whole hand. So 2 cards are getting banished. This is going to the graveyard, and you're adding a spell card from the deck to the hand. You can't. So I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe it's good. Maybe there's some other cards that interact with this and that are pretty good. But let me know in the comments if you've ever used Left Arm Offering and what type of deck would it actually work in really well. And here's another pot of cards. So Pot of Desires. So banish 10 from the top. Face down, draw 2 cards. You can only activate once per turn. So it's basically Pot of Greed, but you are giving up 10 cards from your deck. So it is something to be aware of. I have seen quite a few people play this card. But I feel like, I don't know. It's good, don't get me wrong, but it's, you know, you're giving up a whole lot of your deck. Because out of a 40 card deck, you're giving up like 1/4 of the deck. So, I don't know. Maybe there's some decks that run like 50 cards or something where this would be more viable. Mythical Beast, what is this? Beastimorph. Pitch Black Power Stone. Some of the counter-based cards, spell counter-based card. Extra Buck. Gaga Shield. Interesting choice for a trap card in this deck. And then Magician's Circle. So that's basically the deck. I'm definitely planning to build it to try to make it as competitive as I can without going overboard on trying to like obtain a whole bunch of cards that are really going to be hard for me to locate. But like I said, stay tuned for updated deck profile on Dark Magician at some point. There will be a deck profile on Endymion, since I already have like the base deck. I just need to swap in a lot of the new cards. And then we will also cover spellbooks at some point in the future. Maybe not immediately, but we will revisit them, as well as a bunch of old school decks on this channel that you guys may have been wanting to see. So I'll see you guys in the next video with more Yu-Gi-Oh content. Thanks.